Welcome to another episode of DIY Craft Show Cash Cows. In episode 1, I taught you how to make my best-selling DIY jewelry boxes. In episode 2, I taught you how to use dried-up paint skins to make jewelry, gave you ideas on how to use them for jewelry boxes and pop sockets. And in today's episode, I'll be teaching you simple ways to make those jewelry boxes even more profitable. So get out those notepads and pencils and let's get started. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another video. So over the last few weeks, I've been showing you how to create items that you can easily sell at a craft fair. Items that are not going to break your bank, but that will bring in a nice little side income for you. They're inexpensive to make, and you can charge some pretty good prices for them. So in week 1, I taught you how to make these little jewelry boxes. If you did not see that video, you can go back to my channel, look at the video list, and you'll see a thumbnail that has these little boxes on it. In that video, I showed you a way to thin down acrylic paint to get this type of a look on your box top. In this week's video, I want to show you a little bit of an easier way to thin down the acrylic paint, but also want to teach you how you can actually add to this design to not only make it more interesting, but also it will allow you to charge a little bit more for the boxes because you've put in a little bit more work, if that makes sense. So I charge $30 for these boxes as you see them. What I'm about to show you today, I up the price to about $40 to $50 depending on what I put on the lid itself, how much work I put into it. So this video is intended to give you some ideas so that you yourself can have options when designing these. It's just a way to help you spark your imagination a little bit. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to thin down the acrylic paint a much easier way than what I did when I first did this video. I used what was called the bloom technique recipe. This week, I'm going to make it much easier so that you don't have to go out and buy all those products. You're going to need some paint, some water, and some American Floetrol. That's it. Now, I'm going to tell you, you can technically pour on these box tops using paint that's thinned down with glue, paint that's thinned down with pouring medium. However, if you want to achieve the look that I have, then you have to use the same products that I'm using. It's that simple. You can pour paint that's thinned down with pouring medium or glue onto that top. You're just going to get a different look. It's not going to be wrong or right. It's just going to be different. So let me set up, and then I'll show you how I thin down this paint a very simple way. And then once we go through that part and I design the new box tops, we'll let those dry, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to oomph them up so that you can charge a little bit more. Before I get started today, I wanted to remind everyone I'm holding an in-person acrylic pouring 101 class August 17th, 2024 here in Connecticut. If you are interested in attending that class, send me an email, artbytammy@yahoo.com, and I'll send you out all the information for that class. All right, so before I get started, I just want to go over the supplies you're going to need to do this. You're going to need a wooden jewelry box. You don't need to do this one specifically, but this is the one that I use. You're going to have to tape off the lid underneath so it stays nice and clean. This you're going to just put to the side for now. You're also going to need some strong glue to attach the bottom cushion that I put on the bottom of the box. I will show you all of this. I just slap it right on there with some glue. You're going to need some acrylic paint, and then you're going to need some American Floetrol, which I'll pop up on the screen right now for you. If you're going to go a step further, as I'm going to do after these dry, by adding something else to the lid, I'll give you some ideas. You can use some little baubles, like jewelry baubles, little seashells, depending on the design you're going for, some rhinestones, some bling bling, you know, whatever you have, some glitter. The design that you put into this, the work that you put into this is totally up to you. Use your imagination. I've done so many different things over the years with jewelry box tops. It's incredible. Go on Pinterest, do a search, mixed media jewelry box tops. You'll get a ton of ideas. So those are the supplies that you're going to need. And you're also going to need some resin if you want to resin the top. Now, you don't have to resin the top. The reason why I like to resin the top is because you get just such a beautiful, look at that. It makes the colors light up, and it's just such a beautiful finish, right? That's why I like to use it, but you can just varnish them when they're dry. You don't have to resin them. But should you choose to, I'm using KS Liquid Art Resin today. That's what the label looks like, and there is a discount in the description for you should you try it. Let me get set up, show you how to thin down this paint really easy, no measuring required, and then we will get started. What I tell you today applies to any medium-bodied paint. So, for example, if you have Liquitex in a tube, if you have Amsterdam, Arteza, Winsor Newton, any medium-bodied tube paint, you're going to mix it exactly like I do today. Take some paint, put about a grape size amount in there. All right, that's all you need. Take some American Floetrol or pouring medium or Australian Floetrol, whatever you want to use, okay? Cover it and fill the cup halfway. Now, this measurement that I'm doing is for a small Dixie cup, okay? If you use a bigger cup, obviously you're going to have to use more paint, more whatever you're using to thin it down. But fill it about halfway. Mix the two together. And then to that, you want to add a half a teaspoon of water. Half a teaspoon. Exactly. Mix them together and you're done. That's it. The paint is the right consistency. Again, this applies for all medium-bodied paints. If you're using something like a Deco Art, the 2-ounce bottles, or a fluid type of paint like a golden fluid or something like that, no water is needed. Only add water if you're using a medium-bodied paint. So this is all set. That's how we're mixing all of the paints today. I'm going to set up and we're going to do the first box lid. Okay, so now that you have your paints all mixed up, as I told you, make sure you tape the bottom of the lid so it stays nice and clean. People ask what I use for props for my things. An old cup. That's it. Nothing fancy here. You do not need to prime this lid or anything like that. We're going to pour directly on it. Now for this next tool that I'm going to be using, it's totally not mandatory. You can use your mouth. You can use a blow dryer. You can do a totally different design. It does not matter. I'm going to be, however, using the Great Blodini, which is my little airbrush that I've had forever. You can get this on Amazon. It's very, very simple to use. It comes with this long hose. You plug or screw one end onto the airbrush, one onto the box, plug it in, and you're good to go. If you have to adjust the air, you just turn this nozzle if you want it stronger or weaker. All right, so you don't need to use that. You can use a straw if you want to do this exact look that I'm doing right now. So for the first one, we're going for a galaxy look. I'm going to just pour this purple right here in the middle. Now, you don't have to use purple. You can use black or whatever color you want. This purple dries very dark, so that's why I want to use it. I like this color. So just pour it on until gravity takes over and pulls it over the edge. You don't have to worry about too much paint being left on these lids because of the fact that they're not flat. They're curved. So gravity is going to take over and pull off any excess paint. So that's a good thing, right? Then what you're going to do is you're just going to take your colors that you mixed up and just splotch them around. Splotch. Splash. So we have a pretty teal, we have a magenta, and then we have the gold. Now this is only layer one. There's more coming after this dries. All right, and then I'll add a little more of this purple, why not? And then I'm just gonna take my airbrush and kind of blend it. Just move it around and let it dry. And that's gonna be it. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to blow it around like I said. Now, just so you know, I'm going to be changing this background in a second. I know it is incredibly glarish, has a lot of glare. Words are not my friend today. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to change this, but I'm making multiple of these, and I'm not going to show you each one. But when I come back in to do the next box top, you're going to see I'm on a different color background with paint already on it. That's just because I did a second galaxy off to the side after I changed this background. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just put the paint on there, blow it around a little bit, and then let it dry. So here we go with box number 2. I took some white paint and some gold paint, and I poured it into a cup. And I'm just going to do a very simple ring pour. I will let you know that I did not like the way this ended up looking. So I ended up pouring over it again, and you're going to see that. It was too bland. I had this original idea that I would pour it out and make it look like a geode after it was done. But yeah, I was just not digging those two colors. So I figured I'd let you see what a ring pour looks like on here. I didn't get many cells or lacing because I only used 2 colors. And the majority of the cells and lacing that I did get rolled off of the canvas. I got a little lacing there just from blowing on it, but I decided, like I said, to cover this up with some color and go a totally different route, which again, you'll see the finished results at the end of this video. The more you put into this, the more you can ask for it. That's the bottom line. You know, if you do a simple paint pour jewelry box, then, you know, you get $35 for them. But if you put a little extra work in, and it really doesn't cost much to throw a little bit of glitter or some crushed glass on the top of that, it looks much more impressive, and you can ask for more at the craft fairs. And box number 3 is my favorite thing to do on these lids, and that is an ocean, because you can start off with an acrylic pour ocean, but then do a resin ocean on top of it, and you get 3D effects, you know, dimensional waves and all that, which I will be showing you how to do as soon as this is dry. As you saw there, over 3/4 of the top, I used ocean colors, added a little bit of white, blew them around. I blew the blues around first and then came back in and individually blew out each of the waves really, really makes a pretty box top just on its own. But wait till you see at the end how much dimension I got out of this. For the bottom half, I just poured a little bit of the gold paint down there, added a little bit of the white, and then used the airbrush to blow that into some sort of wave. And then after that, I was finished with stage 1 of these box tops. We'll let them dry, and then we'll come back for stage 2. Alrighty, so we are back 24 hours later, and these are dry already, which is why I love to make them for the craft fairs, because I can make so many in a short period of time. But anyway, the only one I'm not really happy with is this one here. Is stretched out, and I don't know. I was going to pour over it, but then I said, let me just try to zhuzh it up first and see how it looks. So let me show you here. I want to put my gloves on before I handle them because I'm going to be using resin, and your fingers transfer natural oils onto things that you touch. So if you ever find that you're using a piece of wood or a really good quality canvas and your resin is pulling away from the edges, it could be from you handling it, believe it or not. So just always wear gloves. So yeah, I don't like I would have loved more of this, less of this, but I'm going to leave it alone and see what I could do with it. The ocean turned out beautiful. So now we're going to go on to step 2 with this one. And the galaxy turned out beautiful. So we're going to go on to step 2 with that one also. So let me just show you what I'm going to be using here. This is KS Liquid Art Epoxy. That's the resin that I always use for everything. And I love it. I've been using it for years. So what I'm going to do is mix some of that up. And then I'm going to be using some actual resin pastes to color the resin. So let me show you the brand I'm using today. I already got it on my fingers. Just Resin, it's called. And this is bright gold, ultramarine pink, ultramarine violet, which I did not clean very well at all. I also have green diamond, pretty green color, some white, regular violet. I also have an alcohol ink so I can have a transparent color for my ocean. And then I have my favorite gold of all, liquid gold by MTN. It's like spray paint, but it's in a jar. You could pour some out. I'm going to show you how pretty it looks in resin. I also have for my ocean some little baubles to add to the seashore. Adding little touches like this will allow you to increase the price of your little jewelry box. So just remember that. The more you put into it, the more you can ask for it. When you receive your resin kit after you order it, it's going to come in 2 bottles, a part A and a part B. Here I'm mixing, I want 6 ounces total of resin. So I have 3 ounces of part A, 3 ounces of part B. Mix them together. You can see how it's hazy and it looks like there's like strings floating through it. You need to mix that until it's perfectly clear. There's going to be a lot of bubbles. Don't worry about that. You can pop those with either a heat gun or a torch, but you just want to make sure that you mix it up really, really well. Scrape down the sides multiple times. Scrape off your stick multiple times, front and back, side and side. Make sure you incorporate that landed on the side back into the resin. And you want to mix it for about 3 minutes or until all of that haziness and stringy look is gone. Once the resin is mixed, I divvy it up into the amount of colors that I need for my box tops. When you get these and open them,
or if they've been sitting on your shelf for a while, just give them a good mix before you use it. And they are extremely pigmented, so you do not need a lot of this.
As you can see here, I'm just kind of sticking the stick in and letting it drip off, and that's it. That will color a whole entire cup. Then you just want to mix it thoroughly through the cup of resin, and you're ready to begin.
Got my heat gun. I'll make sure to link all these products in the description. Have my torch. First, let's work on this one here that I don't like the most.
So by creating a layer of art with the resin on top of the acrylic pour using these transparent colors, you'll still be able to see the original acrylic pour when it's done, and it's going to give you a beautiful 3D effect. So I start off by pouring the purple onto the top and just kind of spread it around. And then I just came in with some gold and kind of created some lines by dragging it through the wet resin. This one was giving me a little bit of a challenge, so I put the gold on, blew it around, put some more gold on, and then just put it to the side to work on in a little bit, because sometimes when you like kind of walk away from things, your brain kind of kicks in and you come up with another idea. So you're going to see me put this to the side for a minute and skip to the next one. I have a good hour to work on these before the resin starts getting thick, because I'm using a really good resin, so there is no rush. So for this one, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I took my transparent blue resin, poured it over the ocean area, not the beach area. Then I came in with some of that pretty green diamond and kind of just made lines through the wet resin again that would represent some movement in the ocean. Once I was done with that, I added some clear resin to the bottom part of the coaster, because you don't want the blue water to go over the beach area, so you want to have that clear resin down at the bottom. Before I did that, though, I apparently blew this part around a little bit just to kind of blend the colors together. I also, before I added the clear, just added a little more of that transparent blue. So here's the clear going over the beach area. And now what I'm going to do is take some white resin. This is going to create my waves and the lacing that looks like sea foam. Now you can do this two ways. You can use the heat from your torch to move the white and create that lacing. You'll see I just quickly go over the white area with the flame a few times, and it spreads out and creates little tiny lacing patterns and makes the white kind of move into a wave shape. You can also use your heat gun to do the same thing. So let me demonstrate that for you now. So put down some white resin, just kind of like draw a wave, let's say. Not that that looks like a wave, but I think you kind of get what I'm trying to say. Where you want waves to be, just put a little line of white, and then you can use the torch to move it out, spread it out, and create those waves, or you can use the heat gun to blow it around. Both ways work great. Now it's time to lay in any type of seashells or any type of additive that you want to put into that wet resin so that it will act like a glue for you. So I just lay those down and position them the right way, and I put that one off to the side for it to cure. Now for the galaxy. I start off with a transparent purple so that you can still see that artwork underneath. That's very important. When you buy a resin pigment, it will tell you whether it's a opaque color, a transparent color, a resin tint. There's all different types. So just like with the acrylic paint, though, I put down the colors, just threw them all over the top of the box. No particular order except for that purple first, so that you'd be able to see the bottom still. Blew it around with the heat gun, and then once I was done with that, I added drips of my liquid gold and hit it with some heat, and you'll see the fantastic effects that it creates. This stuff is like magic in resin. It looks like actual gold chain just laying in your resin piece when it's done. This is another technique I like to do with resin. Once I put all my colors down, I'll add a little clear, and that kind of pushes that color a little bit and creates even more depth. You saw me take some off of the table, which, by the way, if you have any extra box tops laying around, scoop up that resin off your clean table and put it on top of one, and you'll get just a beautiful box top out of nowhere. I swear resin art is a lot easier to create a beautiful piece of art than any kind of art out there. It's like, here's the first one I was working on, and I threw it to the side because I didn't know what I was going to do. I scooped some of that off of the table, added some of the colors I had left over, and guess what? This one turned out to be the prettiest one out of them all. So you'll see. It's like sometimes you don't even try and you get the most beautiful piece of art. So now here we are 24 hours later. My pieces have all cured. I'm going in to do another layer because even though it looked beautiful and had a lot of depth already, the more layers you do on an ocean piece specifically, the more magnificent it looks. And you'll see this in the close-up at the end of the video. So I just added a few more waves on that one. On this one here, I added a coat of clear resin and then my sparkly bits right into the blue areas there to give it a geode kind of style. I was really happy with how this one turned out. Again, the one I hated the most ended up being the one I loved the most. And then for the galaxy, again, I did a clear coat of resin on that one. And I added in a little more color and blew it around, and a little more of my liquid gold. I just dripped it on the top and blew that out. Came out beautiful. I cannot wait for you to see these. More importantly, though, I hope I inspired you to try something new and that you actually give it a shot, put yourself out there, and go sell some art. Now let's talk about finishing the boxes. Now, obviously you have to remove the drips that are underneath the lid, so just peel off the tape. If the drips are giving you a hard time, use your heat gun to warm them up and they'll peel right off with the tape. You're going to take some E6000 glue, put it all around the outer edge of the cork bottom that you can buy online at Amazon or at Hobby Lobby like I do. Slap it on the bottom of the jewelry box and you're all done. If you want to stain these boxes, you can. I personally don't. I like the raw look. And yeah, that's it. And that, my friends, is how you can create these and get just a little more money out of them. Look at how pretty. That was the one that I hated, and now I love it the most. And the beautiful ocean one with the cute little starfish. They're hard to see with the lighting. In person, you can see them much better. But yeah, and look at the depth that you can get out of doing multiple layers. You still see the original acrylic pour under there. You still see the first layer and the second layer. And again, you know, it's so hard in person to show you the effects of doing multiple layers of resin, like the depth. But like this gold here, it looks like there's like real chain laying on top of the box. It's really, really, really cool. This lacing. Looks like it's cheesecloth that you could just pick up out of there. So yeah, it's really, really fun. And like I said, people will love it. This area here is very blingy. Very, very blingy. Oh yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, just you got to take the plunge. Make some of these. sign up for your local craft fair. Go on Facebook, find, groups in your area that advertise fairs, things like that. Go on Google, look for it, and just take the plunge. I promise. You will love it. Now I gotta make a statement because I always get these messages where people will say, I tried a craft fair and I hardly sold anything. I'm not responsible for the area you live in. If you live in an area where there's like nobody around, like, 200 people in your whole town, it may be a little difficult, but try to go outside of your area to busier places where there's a lot of foot traffic. And speaking of that, when you apply for a craft show, always ask them what their foot traffic is like. How many years has this been going on? How many people usually turn up for it? Any reputable craft show will be able to answer that question for you, okay? So always check it out first. See, is there a high attendance? Look into those things and then fill out that application and go for it. So next week, I have the biggest craft show cash cow coming out. You're not going to want to miss this. So make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell, hit the like button on the way out if you liked the video, and please leave a comment. I love you all. I want to thank you so very much for joining me. And until next Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, happy pouring.